Welcome, my name's Chris and I'm back this week with another lesson. This is going to be a masterclass on how to use a capo. We're going to go really deep here. I'm talking about how to really understand capoing, how to organically capo music, how to not just have to take someone's word on it where a capo goes to really understand this concept. I was going to do a video on the good keys to play on a guitar, meaning the good sets of chords that the guitar really is designed for. Of course, you can play in any key on guitar. You can use bar chords. Lead guitarists often don't use a capo and they play in weird keys on guitar that are not really resonant per se. But capoing really goes hand in hand with this idea of good keys for guitar and good groups of chords, because that's why we use a capo, is to use those groups of chords. And I want to talk today on how the capo is not a crux at all. It's a powerful tool, and when you really understand capoing at a deep level, you can have a lot of fun with guitar and kind of mix it up, play new sounds you never played. Like, how many times have we had to play a song in the key of G? When you can mix it up, you can capo and play it in another key. How to go from the capo key of a song to the actual key, to understanding how that works, and how to do the opposite, to go from where you know the actual key and figuring out how can you capo this, okay? So the first thing let's look at here is the top musical alphabet. What I have is all 12 notes used in music, and I wrote them out specifically in a certain way. You'll notice there's no sharps up there besides F sharp. And the idea behind this is that this is all the names of the keys of music. If you ever studied the circle of fifths, you'll probably be more familiar with this idea. All the black keys in music on a piano, when we play in those keys, we tend to call them flats unless you're F sharp, because F sharp and G flat are equally complex. But the other ones, it's easier to call them flats than sharp. So this is all 12 keys we can play in. I could have a song in G, I have an A flat, A, B flat, B, C, and we have 12 different pitches, and 13 including if you have the G flat F sharp, but that's the same key sonically. So the idea here is that we are capoing the guitar when we want to raise a good sounding key. And what I mean by key, I'll just demonstrate. This is the sound of the key of G on the guitar. Typical sounds we hear often, right? How many times have we heard these kinds of sounds, right? Just very typical guitar key, because it's really easy to play in and it's resonant, and this is why we play these chords. It's kind of a chicken and egg scenario. These chords show up a lot in music, and this is why we play them. It's because they're easy. So I can raise this key and everything in it, all the composite chords that we play with G, chord family video, I'll link so you can see that below, where I go over my favorite voicings in the key of G that are often not taught as official chords or whatever, but are actually really common, you'll hear all the time. So we're raising all that by a certain amount. So capos can only raise pitches. So if you know the actual key of the music, you kind of have to think backwards. And we'll look at that as we practice this. So that means that if I am raising G with a capo, because I can raise it with my fingers, but I'm not raising the open strings. So I have to raise them as well, 1 fret, right? Because I just moved the pitch, all this G chord to A flat, and now I want to move this to A flat too. Now I have an A flat chord. Isn't that beautiful? But the capo is doing the hard work here. I don't have to think that this is necessarily A flat. Now, it is really nice to have this association in our head, because this stuff just doesn't change. So G capo 1 is forever A flat, right? And I've played lots of songs here. I can remember specific songs I've taught, specific gigs I've played this idea, right? So there's like this contextuality here that's really good. And this is A flat, okay? And this sounds really nice, right? It has a certain sound, or let's say I wanted to play something that's maybe like a G riff, like, my capo's on there all the way. This one's a tension controlled. Right, something like, whatever, like D stuff, right? So that I would have to use a capo for, because if I go here and I'm playing just A flat, well, I can't do that much here, right? My hand's just tied up playing this A flat chord, not to mention this, and if I accidentally hit an open string, see how dissonant those are? So this is the rationale I'm trying to give to you this lesson, is why we use a capo, how to really leverage that sound. Every key has a certain sound. The key of G, all that movement that we tend to do that's just really convenient and resonant, has a certain sound. The key of E does, the key of D. So there's these good guitar keys that we're working towards understanding. Okay, so I could raise G to A flat, capo 1, A capo 2, and the capo just continues up. So G capo 3 is B flat, G capo 4 is B, and I kind of think of it like this, and this is I've never heard this kind of understanding, so that's why I'm giving it, is that there's these like little neighborhoods. So there's like a G neighborhood of keys we can play. We can play G, A flat, A, B flat, B, C. You can go, you know, here, so let's go capo 7, G. So we were, you know, here's G, right? Hit the camera, oops. And now here's capo 7, G. So I'm raising G up. G, up a whole step is A, right? That's 2 frets. Up another whole step's B, and then up a half step is C. So that'd be, if that was capo 5, this would be C, and then capo 7's D. So now compare this to this. Not in tune totally anymore. But right, that has a certain melody, and now this one has a really high, bright melody, because now I'm playing the one on top, right? So that's the idea of capoing. And I've played songs in this tonality, like in D, actually, but G capo 7. I was thinking of like free falling, because often that's played in D capo 3, I think. So I could play that. Let's say I was gonna play it in D, no capo. So it would sound like, you know, D, it would sound like this. Bum, 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 bum. I could have another guitar part go like this. And compare that to, so we'll get in tune here. Close enough, but up here we have this, right? We have all that stuff. So the you don't have to have a capo on to use some of these higher ideas, but to strum full rhythm guitar chords you would. So, you know, the key of D can now be multiple things. If I'm playing, I've been in situations where I've had to play songs a lot for gigs, like over and over again, and they get kind of boring. This is a way I can mix it up, right? Instead of playing D, G, A, I could play G, C, D. This is why numbers are so important, right? To see these commonalities, to think in numbers out of the weeds of specific uncontextualized chords, which is the norm. And that's why it can be hard to learn songs. If you zoom out, you can start to see all this possibility. That's super cool. So, okay, let's do another example here. Like we could take, I would say out of these key centers, which we're kind of going through these points all at the same time, but the circled ones are my favorite keys to play on a guitar. And out of those, I would say for me personally, and this is what I tend to see a lot of rhythm guitar in, is G being a primary key center for guitar, which the neighborhood of G, capoing neighborhood, goes, I would say, to about 7th fret, which is where we just did. So G to D, that's like a 5th. So that's a lot of keys we can play. G, A flat, A, B, B flat, or sorry, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, C, D flat, and D, right? And you know, in popular music today, we're a little bit more finicky when it comes to vocals and stuff, and we're not afraid to take something from G to A flat. It's just really easy to capo. It's expected that keyboardists can play in A flat. Maybe a keyboard player wrote the song. So there's none of this key bias that's really guitar, like where we really like G and C and chords like that, or keys. So that is common. That happens a lot. And you know, for professional music, you're expected to kind of be able to play wherever. And many people who like play at church or play just casually have these kind of learned assumptions eventually that like G capo 3 is B flat. Or maybe they just like like see that connection and like, oh yeah, every time it says G Capo 3, I'm playing in B flat, or if it says key of B flat, I've learned that that means G Capo 3. Key of G is the most common center, I would say. The next most common that I see a lot of is C. Maybe tied with D or something, but I think C is pretty common too. And I'll try to see if you can figure this out. Let's say we're here. So if I'm playing a C chord here, there's two ways you can actually like think about what key am I actually in. So this is kind of number one, capoed key to actual. So, and this goes for if you're like learning a song, like the song I Will Follow You in the Dark by Death Cab for Cutie, randomly is in this key. C, I'm pretty sure, capo 5. And so you might find yourself wondering eventually, what key is this actually, or how could I play with someone else, like a keyboard player? If I say, oh, it's C, well, that's not C for them, right? Because you're capoed. And so think of it maybe as okay, I'm raising the C 5 frets up, right? So I'm raising it 5 half steps. So I'm going from C, not including C. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get to F. And that's right, this is an F chord. Also, here's another cool way to do this. Ask yourself, what note is the root note without the capo? So this is a root note here, this is C. And without the capo, fret 8. Just totally ignoring the capo, this would be an F. So I'm still playing an F, just the capo is now making it to where I can play the C shape. And I get all the beautiful stuff in C, like the beginning of Dust in the Wind. Right? Whatever thing you associate in C, I associate it with like a lot of bluegrass. Right, so there's all this certain sound, and I can play that here. I can play, whatever it is, that Death Cab for Cutie song, I Will Follow You in the Dark. All this other stuff in F, which is the C capo 5, which would change, that would sound different from D capo 3, which is also F. Right, real bright. I could do drop D here, because I play in drop D a lot, so this reminds me of a song I played in high school, I think I learned it. Something like that, Man of Constant Sorrow. It's got all this like really nice bluesy drop D stuff. So that is here and not open drop D because of probably a vocal range. But isn't that cool that I can respond to key of F if I'm in a band and a song's in the key of F? I can just play F bar chords, B flat bar chord, C bar chord, whatever. Typical chords. But this is a lot more interesting to me, really leveraging a key center on guitar. So the key of D, and if it's like this bluesy stuff, there's a part of your brain that is just like, okay, what bluesy drop D stuff do you know? In the key of drop D, right? So it's very contextual. And that's in your like little attic up there. And then another part of your brain might be like, well, that's not really the vibe. It's more D major, or maybe it's not drop D at all. Maybe it's this sound. So remember, we're in F. We're showing off C capo 5, which is F, D capo 3. Check it out. There's a D neighborhood there, and F's in it. And then also E capo 1 would also be F. Now I'm gonna go back to standard. This capo's kind of finicky. I really dig quick change capos. That's a typical, you know, like Kaiser. And I've got a lot of those. I just have one of these. Adjustable tension is really nice too on some guitars. I'm not against tuning, fine tuning on it with a capo. Yeah, your guitar might have some, you might have to retune, but. Okay, now this, I'll have to kind of show all the keys together. This E stuff, E capo 1, which is also F, has a totally different sound. I can play all this stuff that I know how to play in E. I've got a major scale exercise on one string I'll have to link, because I show off a lot of E stuff there. So if I wanted to play like, I think Hey Jude's in F, so. Kind of buzzy, but So, right, that's a cool way to play in this key. I could also do that here, remember. And all these chords have a certain sound to them, and then these chords also have a different sound to them. And that all sounds different and probably worse than this. And this is okay. And this could be actually a certain preferred sound occasionally. If you want this kind of sound of not too resonant, right? Turning down the resonance just because we're playing a lot of bar chords, moving our hand a lot, everything stops. But again, you just want to have options here. So this is very subconscious. This is like a technique thing. Even having the options alone means you've studied some, right? Because if we're just trying our best, which is nothing wrong with that, if we're just like, okay, it's this capo 3 and it's got these chords and I'm just want to have fun, that's great. But then eventually when you learn enough songs and get hungry enough, you start to make these connections, or you start to want to make the connections of like, okay, capo 3 and I've played these chords before, or I'm in a band and this a problem arises where you have to figure out what key to play in. So I will link a how to capo guide that I've been using for a little bit. I think it can be helpful figuring out what key you're actually in or what capo key you're in and how to convert the two. So let's do one more example here. So actual key to capo. So like let's say you look up a song and it says it's in the key of, let's do B flat. Okay, so B flat, and you think, okay, there's a B flat up there, I see it. And then remember, we can only raise the keys we're playing. So we have to kind of find a key underneath B flat. So I look right 3 under B flat and I see G. That's how this works. And then I have to raise G to B flat. So 1, 2, 3, right? So G, A flat, A, B flat. And then I can kind of double check that if you're doing long-term guitar study, which I hope you are, you should. It's worth it, it can be fun. Or long-term anything. Long-term reading or cooking or being chill, that's also good. If you're gonna pick one, do that one, not music. So capo 3, G is a B flat, and I can also double check that by saying 6th fret, what is that without the capo, right? And I'm able to convert these, like this sounds right, quite nice, right? B flat. But if I look, oh, I didn't circle, oh, I did circle the other A. So look under the other B flat, which this just goes on forever, right? There's an A. So I could do A capo 1. And now I've got this. Not totally in tune. So let's say I had a song that was like 1. This is why numbers are so important, right? Me going between these like very quickly. I can just convert these. So I could go like 1, 3, flat 3, 4, back to 1. Let's say there's a little riff like that, like a kind of an AC/DC style thing. That's a lot easier there than here. I could do, and then I can still do that riff here, but the context is all different, right? So there's these subconscious boxes that you will form without liking it or not, liking it or not, of key center stuff you can do. So all the stuff you could do in G, all the stuff you could do in C or D. And that's kind of what you want, because if you are not even thinking about what key you're in, you probably don't have a lot of ground context for playing a song. It can just be easy to feel like there's no world to the song, right? We need to make it feel like there's a whole world. There's this song by Norah Jones, I'll just play it briefly, which I am a sucker for her music, her older records especially. But there's this really nice song that's just like, very chill. But it's this little walk down, and it's in C, I think, because I should C no capo. But that's a certain sound in the key of C, a C key center somewhere that I can recognize or not, right? And it maybe is another sound, like in this key of, this is C capo 3, right? So let's do number 1 again, practice this. So see if you can get it right. C capo 3, meaning I'm raising C 3 half steps, right? It's because we raise good guitar keys to go up to bad ones that the good guitar keys sound better. We raise the good ones to sound like the bad ones. This is like translating for us, right? So C capo 3, hopefully you got it right. It's also the name of 6th fret A string, E flat. And we call it E flat, not D sharp, because D sharp has a gajillion sharps, E flat has 3 flats. So musically, it's just easier to talk about E flat. And numbers are the same in C, capo 3, and E flat. And also, you know, if that's E flat, look under E flat. What else do I see? D, right? Capo 1. So then this, like this all has a certain sound, the thing I just played in C. But if I was playing like a drop D bluesy thing like was before here, right, all that stuff, then that's gonna have a certain vibe. Then this, which you know, it's a little harder to do bluesy stuff in C key center. Right, I can kind of, but that it's written with that D stuff in mind, right? It wasn't even written like that. It was just like, oh, sounds good, right? So contextual, right? That's the takeaway here, is that it's very, very contextual. One more example of E flat. Let's just try to play them all here. So what if I go up here? So now I'm looking under E flat. The next option is A. Right? And the next option would be G. Now we're getting real high up. This can be kind of cool though, for another guitar part, if you want to double track guitars. Right, so you could have a guitar part up here, like, sounds like a mandolin or something, paired with this. Paired with this. Right, all those have a certain sound. Paired with E flat, right? What if we take a guitar from a standard guitar and downtune it? And then that E, if you downtune it in a half step, is now E flat. So there's a lot of possibilities here, right? You can really go crazy. And now I understand too, it's okay not to have these intuitions like they come to you, right? So like I've found a lot of this stuff because I've just been bored of playing songs. So for instance, G, I'm gonna wrap up here, but like here's some examples. So, you know, how many songs have I played in G? Here, I'll just pick some easy ones. Imagine Knockin' on Heaven's Door, which I think is in G. And then A minor 2. So I'm thinking about the numbers, so I could put this in any key. 1, and 5, and 4. So I had the inclination a few years ago when playing in G, what if I play in E capo 3? Because E is a really cool guitar key and it has this really openness to it. So I could go and play some other shapes. Now, let's say I'm approaching lead guitar this way. So let's say I take a solo on Knockin' on Heaven's Door, maybe not Slash style, but like more Bob Dylan style, because I played acoustic. But that means that here, right, whatever I play. And I'll be playing a certain way in the G, so these strings are old, sorry. The G solo box that I've developed, G vocabulary, G melodic language stuff that I've accrued. And not just G, but G capo 1, G capo 2, G capo 3, all over the guitar, right? That will be different from the stuff I've accrued here. And here, I kind of dig some of the sound differences for this. Like, I could imagine using the two thinnest open, because I'm in E, right? And I could go like, I could use thirds. Right, and I have this whole different vibe. I can do all this stuff that I couldn't do in G, but I can do stuff in G I can't do in this key. And I could also find more examples. So again, I'm in just G, right? Which is funky because I'm playing E Capo 3, right? And when I'm in E, I turn off my G. I'm not thinking of G at all, right? It's like I'm totally, this is the only key that's ever existed. I'm thinking 1, 4, 5, 6, or whatever, 6, 5, 4, 1. And G has, if I look at G, so I saw E Capo 3, D Capo 5. So now I could do drop D stuff, I could do dad-gad stuff. I could do a lot of cool applications here if I know D things. But now there's this song up here. There's the melody. So if I wanted to play the melody easily, D Capo 5 is great for that. Right, so that's really cool. And then finally, what's the next one? C Capo 7. We're getting up the neck. There's a Brandy Carlisle song called, oh, it's the first one. By the Way I Forgive You, I think it's here. So she's playing at C Capo 7, which is actually G. Again, this note here, 10th fret, is a G. 10th fret on the A. So, right? So that's a certain sound, right? This is the sound of C. Okay? And then you could go to A, but then we're getting kind of ridiculous. A Capo 10, right? Yeah. I think, yeah, that's right. I don't know if this capo will do it. Maybe? And again, I'm thinking 2, 1, 5, 4, right? That's where I draw the line. But that could be cool too. It's none of it, all of it's on the table to me. Okay, so I want to go and wrap it up here. I hope this has been informative. I've been meaning to do this forever. Capoing is very, it's a concept that really pulls in lots of ideas. And the whole reasoning, once you understand the reasoning, okay, some keys sound really good on guitar, others don't sound as good. That doesn't mean we can't play in them, but we just want to understand that. And every key has their own things you can do. And this is why I've got the chord family series on different key voicings for my favorite chords. They're all very distinct and individual, but yet we're just playing the same numbers and the same emotions in all 5 keys. Oh, one final thing I'll leave you with this is that if you look at this backwards, start at C, we're looking at the circled keys. C, A, G, E, D. Oh, look at that, there's caged. And that's the bottom thing, good guitar keys. Those are the 5 ones. And caged is a whole other concept of how the guitar voicings sequentially are spread across the fretboard. And they're in that order, meaning, actually, if I think this works, let's demonstrate this real quick. C, right, and then A Capo 3, look under C, because we're thinking under. A Capo 3, C. Oh, my bad. Now I'm playing an A chord, right? So I was playing C, C. A Capo 3 is also C. The next one is G. G Capo 5. Bum, right? And the next one's E. So this is why caged works, essentially. Oh, I'm just kidding. Right, and I didn't have that one in my muscle memory, but yeah, this is E. The E open is actually C, because it's the 8th fret. And then finally, I would get G. No, just kidding. D. That's way up there. It's Capo 10 again. Right. Capo's not working. Okay, so that's cool, isn't it? And a good way to remember the guitar keys. My favorite guitar keys that I teach, and I'll revisit the chord family videos because I'll link those, and those go over all this more in detail on chord voicings. But I would say in this order, G and C. G is probably number 1. just a commonality, then C shapes, and then after that probably D, and then E and A are maybe tied. That is totally subjective, totally my opinion, but I see, for myself, I tend to play in G and C the most, and then D, and then D, E, and A are all kind of tied up. A I don't play in too much, but if the situation calls for it, I will, and if I recognize those sounds. And so other people will have other preferences, right? So every guitar and every situation is different. You know, if you're just playing for yourself, you can play whatever chords you want. But if you're playing for gigs and having to change keys and work with a band or write songs, or you're a singer, there's lots of reasons why you might use certain sounds and what you know and what you have fun with, right? Okay, so I will see you next time. I'll be back with more lessons. Look out for the capo guide in the description, chord family series where I talk about how to play a lot of these chords. And let me know how it goes. I love capoing, and I hope you have more fun with it and more understanding of it after this lesson. Until next time, thank you, and I'll see you then.